The Tom Woods Show, episode 1167.
Prepare to set fire to the index card of allowable opinion. Your daily dose of liberty education starts here. The Tom Woods Show.
Men, it's time to stop getting your suits off the $99 clearance rack at Sears, but that does not mean you have to break the bank. This week, my listeners can get any premium made-to-measure Indochino suit for just $379 at Indochino.com when entering Woods at checkout. Hey everybody, Tom Woods here. My old friend Michael Malice joins us again today. He has a big day today because he is moving his You're Welcome with Michael Malice program over from Compound Media to Gas Digital. He's going to have another program on Compound Media. We're going to sort all this out and how you can listen in just a minute. But we thought we would talk a bit about things like this, like having these shows and how do you get people to listen and how do you build an audience? These are lessons that can be applied to any business whatsoever. And we think it's kind of interesting to go behind the scenes and see how it all works and how do you make a successful show and how's it distinguished from an unsuccessful show? What are the things that the successful ones are doing? As I say, these are lessons that can be applied in your personal life and they can be applied in business. And they're not just dumb platitudes. They are specific things that you can replicate step by step. Michael Malice, as most of you know, is a celebrity ghostwriter, New York Times best-selling celebrity ghostwriter, as well as an author in his own right. His most recent book is Dear Reader, the unauthorized autobiography of Kim Jong-il. He is a frequent guest on Kennedy on the Fox Business Network. You can find him on Twitter at Michael Malice, at your own risk, and visit him at michaelmalice.com. Michael, welcome back.
Thanks, Tom.
Let's talk about your new show and why you made the move over to Gas Digital Network, which is it gasdigitalnetwork.com? You just told me.
That is absolutely correct. gasdigitalnetwork.com.
All right, so tell me about why you made this move. Tell me about your show, all that stuff, and then we're going to get into some juicy strategy that can be used by anyone.
So one of the problems when I was at Compound Media is my show was behind a paywall. And this was very frustrating because I had a lot of people who were somewhat prominent guests. You were on my first show and you were my only repeat guest. And I thought if I go to a network where things are free and not behind a paywall, then more people can enjoy it or not enjoy it, as the case may be. But it's also better for the guests. You know, if I'm going to have a guest on the show, the question is, what's in it for them? You know, it can't always be someone doing me a favor. So I thought this would be a great way. It's the same network Dave Smith is on, who you've had on the show. He's a bit of more of a moderate libertarian than my anarchist self. But this way,
I'm not sure he would go along with that, but all right.
Oh, he's basically a Milton Friedman constitutionalist.
You stop that. All right, I'll let Dave handle himself.
Well, I'm sorry. Maybe he's more of a Romney type. Anyway,
okay.
The point is, it's on gasdigital.com live Tuesdays at 12:30. If you use my promo code YWMM, you're welcome, Michael Malice. You get 20% off. But if you don't want to subscribe, you can just 2 days later. It's going to be free on YouTube and iTunes. So have at it.
All right.
Best of both worlds.
Indeed. All right. I'll make sure we've got links and stuff up at whatever the heck episode number this is. TomWoods.com/1167. I'm pretty sure. All right. So you left Compound Media. You're now at Gas Digital. Are you still doing anything over at Compound Media? So you're not doing, you've migrated the You're Welcome show over.
Right.
But.
So Compound Media, I'm staying there. Come July, we'll talk again, I'm sure, at some point. I'm going to be doing a 4 nights a week, late night, half-hour news wrap-up show, which is really going to be fun, like in the Jon Stewart, John Oliver tradition. And I think there's a desperate need in the market for something like that.
Yeah, there's desperate need in this household right here that I'm speaking to you from for that. I definitely want that. So that's going to be a lot of fun. All right, so now here you are. I mean, you've done all kinds of interesting things in your career. I think you've had quite an interesting life, an interesting enough life that somebody wrote a book about you. As a matter of fact, the Harvey Picard Ego and Hubris book, which I read and sort of live texted to you as I was reading it.
You were saying it was hitting close to home for you in many regards.
Oh, certainly I could definitely sympathize with the kid in school or the kid in the workplace or whatever who's surrounded by morons who are supposed to be his superiors.
Yeah.
And, I mean, what would you like me to do in this situation?
Yeah. Literally, what is my recourse here?
Yeah, I've exhausted all the possibilities here. So now you really are able to just run your own life. It's great. You do these books for which you're the ghostwriter, or in some cases you are yourself the author in your own right, and you make television appearances and you write a column. And now, for a while you've had You're Welcome and you're branching out with it. You're really doing a whole bunch of things. And in the course of that, you're building an audience, which is what you need to do. I've been telling people about this because as you know, one of my side things is you should be preparing for the worst. You should be preparing for robots taking over your job, or getting a pink slip, or a tweet gets you fired, or whatever. But you should have something on the side to help you out. So I've always been telling people about how to build audiences and what to do in this situation.
And let me tell you something, being an author, which was my primary source of income for many years, it's a very difficult position financially, because you get a huge paycheck and then nothing.
Yeah.
So I was a business major. I took a couple of accounting courses for my major, and I'm very good with budgeting. And one of the things I tell people, I've given you this advice and you've actually followed it to some extent. What I would do is I would be very strict with my budget. However, 10% of every paycheck I took, I put aside as what I call my fun fund, meaning you have to waste this money on things you otherwise wouldn't, whether it's nice meals, taking a cab, or buying clothes or something like that. Because especially when you're starting out and you don't know where that next paycheck is coming from, I mean, for me, and I'm sure other people, it would always be, instead of taking a cab, which is $30 I might not have, or I might use to pay my electric bill, I'll sit and wait here for the train for half an hour. And at a certain point, that becomes counterproductive, because at this point now, I'm hardly wealthy, but that $30 is not going to be material to me. And but I'm still in that scarcity mindset. So I force myself to put that money aside so I don't feel guilty about it, so-called wasting it.
That's a really, really good strategy. And it's really good for your mental health also, to just say, I'm committing X percent to a fund that I'm going to use to enjoy myself. And because that's the designated purpose of this fund, I'm not going to feel guilty about it, which would suck all the life out of the enjoyment I'm supposed to be getting. So I like that.
Yeah, the human mind is very, very complicated and tricky. And if we train ourselves a certain way, emotionally, I found it's much easier to have a workaround than to actually fix it. I don't think I'll ever be at a point, unless I'm totally, rolling in it, that I'll be able to not look at money and not worry about it. Because like you said, especially with writing books or whatever, or shows, I'm always going to be concerned, what if catastrophe strikes? And maybe this is part of my Soviet upbringing, where you have to plan for, at any moment, there could be a knock at the door in the middle of the night and they're taking you to the Husgau.
Well, how about this? For a long time, when I was an author, as you say, it's a precarious lifestyle financially. So I would supplement it with some public speaking. But that's also erratic, though, because that doesn't come in, those offers don't come in on a regular basis. It's highly irregular. So that therefore became my justification for accepting every single one that I possibly could, and I'd run around like crazy. But I had an episode once, and I can't actually remember if I told you about this, but I was at the Mises Institute, and I was being broadcast into a classroom at Suffolk University in Boston, where I was speaking to some business school students about business cycle theory. And as I did it, I noticed that my head was getting kind of cloudy, and when I was speaking, I wasn't being very clear. And one thing I pride myself on, that a lot of people give me compliments on, is that I can take complicated things and explain them in a simple step-by-step fashion. And I was not doing that in this case. I explained Austrian business cycle theory, and I stopped and I realized that didn't make any sense at all. And so I actually had to say, wait a minute, hold on. I don't think that was very clear. Let me try that again. And the second time I tried it, it got even worse. And then at that point, I noticed the tingling feeling you have when your foot falls asleep. I had that in my arms and my legs.
Oh my goodness.
And I didn't know what was happening. And I suddenly, I couldn't think at all. And I just said, I'm sorry, I have to stop. So I went home and I thought, I'll just rest for a while.
Wait, hold on. Were you terrified? That sounds terrifying.
It is terrifying. It is terrifying.
Okay.
And it just got worse, because then I was taken to the hospital.
Oh my goodness. You never told me this.
I couldn't distinguish between my mother and my wife. I didn't know who was who. I could only name, at that time we had 3 kids, I could only name one of them.
Oh my goodness.
I didn't know what was going on. I was panicking, so they had to sedate me. It was horrible. And so then after I woke up from this, by the way, and they never really quite identified what it was. Was it a mini stroke? Well, they'd say that the signs didn't show that, but who knows? I mean, it certainly seemed weird. It certainly had a lot of symptoms that you'd look for there. They were saying it was a combination of dehydration and exhaustion, which seems like not enough of an explanation to me. But I had to cancel an event at American University. Anyway, the point is, I started wondering to myself, this is half of what I do for a living.
Yeah.
What if I can't do it anymore? So the next time I went to speak was at University of New Hampshire. And you know how when I get up in front of an audience, I try to tell some jokes and be light, whatever. I didn't do that this time. I just was right by the books. I had my notes. I gave the talk just to show that I could plow through it and still do it, just to convince myself that I could do it without this sensation happening. And I got through it and it was fine. But I don't know what happened there, but it did make me think my main gig could be up someday, and I have to figure out what would I do in that case. So anyway, sorry for taking so much of your episode.
I feel like this is like an episode of the Jim Baker Show where we're getting people ready for the rapture. This is terrifying. I mean, I'm just saying get ready if you don't have another book deal around the corner. You're saying get ready to be unable to speak. I don't think, Tom, if I lose the ability to speak, I don't think I have enough of a nest egg. Sorry.
Yeah, I know. We'll figure. We'll cross. That's a bridge you have to cross when you come to it. Probably.
I'm sure a lot of people will be very happy to see that day come.
Yeah, that's right. No, you won't.
I'm not one of them.
No, that's true. That's true. All right. So anyway,
wait, should I have a GoFundMe? Get Michael Malice to stop speaking.
That would be funny. That actually would be funny. You could actually get a few bucks that way.
Yeah.
So. I thought since you and I are friends, and when I come to New York, we hang around all day, I thought we could be, and I think we already have been, less formal than I normally am in these sort of interviews, and just have a conversation about this. Like you could ask me things and I could ask you things, that sort of thing.
Right. So
you're building up an audience for yourself, and you do that every time you're on Kennedy, and you do that on Twitter because people just have to watch you on Twitter. How could they not? And people find out about you, then they follow you on Twitter. And once they're following you on Twitter, they're going to find out about your show. They're going to find out about your books. You know, that's something that you do to build up an audience. But
and let me sidebar there, because a lot of times, like when I do shows like yours, and there's a specific example. Rebecca Mansour was Sarah Palin's social media manager. She worked very closely with her. Now she's at Breitbart, and every time I go on Breitbart Radio, she very much is like, Michael Malice is the best troll. You have to follow him. You have to follow him. And every time that happens, I immediately I go through the montage of what I had tweeted out that day. And my sense of humor is a lot less appropriate than many people in your audience would like. And that's fine. Different strokes, different folks. But I remember specifically, one time, this is Breitbart, her audience skews much older, much more conservative. And she's like, oh, you have to follow him. And I knew at the time, just an hour ago, I had tweeted out a very, very dark abortion joke. And I'm just like, oh, Rebecca, I feel so bad right now.
Well, just so everybody knows, Michael tweets out dark jokes about a lot of things. And that's
true.
Right. I mean, that's the style. So we're prepared for it. I already know what's coming. I don't know the specifics, but I know what's coming.
Yes, so the warning label. So one of the things that you said to me about doing a show today that I was curious about is a lot of times when you and I are hanging out, there are people who you have converted to libertarianism, to anarchism, and you seem to have done this organically. However, I'm also aware that what appears to be organic clearly takes a lot of work on the back end. So what advice would you have to people in terms of building an audience, and what mistakes did you make early on? I think those are two separate questions, and they're very big ones, so take them as you wish.
Okay. Now, I'll give a couple of ideas, and then if you want more, we can keep on talking. But first of all, about building an audience. Let's say you were building an audience for something other than a podcast, because there are two different ways I would approach it. If I were building an audience for something other than a podcast, this is what I've recommended, and I don't see that there's anything to be said against it. Let's say I was interested in dog training, like something like that. I have no interest in that whatsoever. But
really? It's really interesting. Are you serious?
Yeah, because I can't stand dogs. I just lost half the audience, 3/4 of the audience. Can't stand them. Sorry, I like cats. Yes, I know they're useless. That's all I want. If I want companionship, I have people. I don't need dogs for that.
That is worse than my abortion tweet.
Okay, well, so be it. It is the truth. You guys are all deluding yourselves about dogs. It's a big mistake. You get companionship from people, you get cuteness from pets. That's all you're looking for.
They have cute dogs, Tom.
Yeah, so they say. I'm still waiting to see one. All right.
You've never seen a puppy?
I'm trying to shed some people to show you how this works. That
Cats shed a lot, Tom. They're known for shedding.
All right, look, I don't want to talk about we'll do the dog versus cat debate in New York.
I can see why you don't want to talk about dogs, because this is unconscionable.
Yeah, we'll do a resolution.
Okay.
Resolve dogs are better than cats. We'll do that. We'll debate it. We'll see who wins.
Okay.
I don't want to do that debate. I would hate that. All right, anyway.
I don't think that's a competition. They're both awesome in their own way.
All right, well, there you go. It doesn't have to be a competition. You're right. Let me go back to the strategy. The strategy is...
alienate everyone needlessly.
Exactly.
You know what else you're against? You're against tipping. The restaurant should pay that waiter. I'm not giving them any money.
Stop that. That is not true at all. Although I do know people who feel that way. But no, if anything, I tip too much. Because I've known people in my family have been what we used to call waitresses. And I always feel like a lot of people are cheapskates when it comes to tipping. So yep. I go the other way. In fact, there have been times when I've been in a group, let's say professionally, like a business-related meeting, and then I get up and I see that somebody, first of all, I hate separate checks when there are 15 of you. That's just rude to do to the waitress. But anyway, somebody had left $1 on his thing. And I just thought, that's just, so when he wasn't looking, I threw more money on that because that's just wrong.
The way if you leave $1 as a tip, that's your way of showing contempt on purpose.
And this is a guy who's a multi-millionaire. I thought that's just wrong. Yeah.
Reprehensible.
Just wrong.
Bob Murphy did that, really?
Yeah. Bob Murphy, the multi-millionaire, didn't. I'm not saying that to make fun of Bob Murphy. He makes a very, very good income. No problem there. Can we? I better get back to my original thought.
Okay, you're talking about how dogs should be abolished.
Dogs should be abolished, but if you want to have them around, you might want to train them. Yeah. So the thing is, but maybe you're really good at training dogs, but nobody knows about you. So how do you get attention? And a very, let's say, not very glamorous, but nevertheless highly effective way of building a nice targeted list of people who will be interested in what you're doing and to whom you can make sales even would be to use Facebook. Now, I know Facebook has a million problems. Believe me, it annoys me too. But it's a free way to get a targeted list, so you'd be crazy not to use it. There must be who knows how many dog training groups on Facebook. You go into those groups, you join some of them, you follow the discussions, and you see who's really engaged and interested, and you approach them to become friends. So you're building up a dedicated Facebook account that's entirely for that niche. And you can build up as many as 5,000 people on that before you have to then have a fan page or whatever. But 5,000 people is a pretty good start for a list of hungry buyers. That's worth a 50,000 list of just cold names. 5,000 people who have demonstrated they're interested in what you have to offer. And then on your profile, on your wall there, you don't just pitch all the time. You have content, whatever, and you got to pitch the right way, but you can make sales. You can build up an email list, build up a following, and that's for free. You realize marketers in the past would have killed for that tool, and you have it for free? So that'd be one major way I would do it if I were not doing a podcast. Now, for a podcast, if I want to build up an audience, here's the way I would do it. First of all, there are free ways and there are paid ways. And by the way, this does not just apply to podcasters. You can also apply this to almost any business. Let's say I want to use a paid way just because it's faster. Basically, as with anything, you have time and you have money, and they're often at odds with each other. You can either spend more time on something, doing it yourself, or you can spend more money and have somebody else do it and save you the time.
Just like the cab versus the train I was mentioning earlier.
Yeah, exactly right. So it's or shopping at Walmart. That saves you money, but doesn't save you time, and shopping at a specialty shop or something. But even there, you have to go to like 12 specialty shops to get all of it. Anyway, the point is, one thing I do is, let's say I have an episode with somebody from antiwar.com. Then what I would do is, now they're gonna share that in their circle, but I might boost that post on Facebook. I go into the Facebook ad manager, and I tell them that I want my audience to include people who have liked antiwar.com. Or if it's a Second Amendment episode, I might boost it to people who have specifically said that they like Gun Owners of America. Now, not the NRA, because I want a specific targeted kind of people who are likely going to rabidly like what I have to say. And if they're with the NRA, they've signaled that they're for guns, but they're not these crazy people.
Right.
Whereas the Gun Owners of America have made clear, we are not the mainstream gun people. We are the hardcore gun people. That's my audience. So I'll pitch that episode to them, and then I make a pitch in the episode to subscribe to the show. So I make sure that the episodes are not just generically being distributed to libertarians, but they're laser focused, targeted to an audience that's going to like them. So if I talk about Bitcoin, I'm going to target the cryptocurrency community with my targeting. Now, I haven't been doing as much of this lately as I should, and that's on me. That's my fault. But that is a great way, and you don't have to spend $1 million. Spend $5 a day for 5 days and see what your results are. But if you're not a well-known person, that is a way to start building up that audience. Now, there are other ways too, free ways. I'll give a quick example. Use YouTube. Now, you don't want to make a video. Well, okay, you're going to have to overcome that fear. Make short videos, 3 minutes tops, and then pitch that show. Or your email list, that's a separate thing, but pitch that show at the end. Say, look, this is what I talk about every single day or twice a week or whatever over on my show. Here's how you get on there. People watch videos more readily than they click on podcast episodes on Facebook. So that's a way to get those people who would never have clicked on that other link. So that's, off the top of my head, ways that are almost foolproof to build an audience.
Huh. Well, what mistakes did you make that you later were kicking yourself about?
Yeah, that's a good... Well, first of all, I actually don't feel like I need to do a live stream of the show.
Okay.
Now, I get that Gas Digital, that's kind of their shtick, and they have a whole network, but I wasn't a whole network. I was just one guy. So there was no particular benefit to me, I thought. Oh, I'm going to have people call in. I don't want people calling in. I just don't. I realize that most of the time when I listen to call-in shows, I wish the caller would shut up and the host would talk more. Now,
let me ask you a question, because this is something I'm dealing with now. And this might be a function of how things have changed since you launched the Tom Woods Show. Gas Digital has a live chat. So what I'm going to be doing on the show is I'm going to be able to interact with subscribers live with the guest while it's happening. I don't want calls. I agree with you, because that's like playing Russian roulette, right? And you're trapped in an interaction with someone, and odds are, if you're just drawing a name out of a hat, it's not going to be, adding much value. But a live chat's different, because then you have, a cacophony, but you could pick out, the wheat from the chaff and really have it be fun. Is that something that if you were starting today, you would consider?
I wouldn't, because I would find it distracting. You are a really good interactor with people, let's say. When I see you do those YouTube live sessions, and people are just throwing comments and questions at you in rapid fire lightning round mode, you are masterfully hitting every single one of them in a way that's interesting or punchy or provocative or clever. And I can't do that. I would just find it distracting. So
okay.
So it's not a one-size-fits-all thing, but I was trying to do something that wasn't right for me and wasn't working for me. And I thought, I don't think I even need this thing. And yet I started using, oh my gosh, I was using the Blog Talk Radio platform. So the audio was horrible. And I didn't know the audio was horrible because I was too afraid to listen to the first few episodes. I just didn't want to know. I did not want to know how it would go. So that was probably platform and stuff like that was the big mistake. And then also I wasn't building a list, because the list will also help. You don't have to do this if you don't want to. But the thing is, every single way I can reach people to get them to listen, I want to use. And sometimes people, they either don't listen for a while, or they forget about it, or they find out about me some other way. They don't even know I have a show. Email is a way of, I get hundreds and hundreds of additional clicks on these episodes when I just email the episode out. I don't want to make my list just me emailing episodes out every day, because then listeners will feel like they get nothing out of it.
Right.
But that sort of thing, every channel you can use, you're competing against, who knows, it's got to be well into the major six figures how many other podcasts there are. You're competing with the whole world. You've got to get every click. You have to struggle to get every click you can in this crowded marketplace.
I've got a question that, how like if someone sends you a resume and there's typos, that's a very easy cue that this person is not professional or ready for this job, even though it might be a false positive or whatever the reverse of false positive is. What cues do you pick up on that will tell you that this podcast is unprofessional?
Well, it'd be funny for me to say this given the audio issues I've had. Look, every podcast.
If it has my name in the title.
Yeah, right, exactly. Every podcast will have an occasional audio problem from time to time. It just can't be avoided. But if on a regular basis it sounds like an amateurish microphone is being used, or it's too hot, which means like it's the sound that you hear when they're announcing the subway stops,
Got it.
Next stop, Times Square, and it's more like next stop, Times Square. You can't do that. That's terrible. Or if it's echoey or there's background noise, whatever. Now, on my show, there's background noise sometimes. That's the guest's fault because they're fidgeting or they've got some window open with Facebook notifications making a racket.
I am apologizing in advance. My air conditioner is being put in tomorrow. I do have the window open.
No, but that's okay because that's authentic sound. Yeah.
Yeah. So if everyone is hearing the sounds of Brooklyn, that is totally on me.
Yeah, that's fine. I like sounds like that. I don't like, hey, I'm on a show right now. I can't talk to you. What are you doing? What is this? I remember there was somebody in my classroom once, by the way, who when I used to teach, and it was an exam, and he took a cell phone call, and he said, "Yeah, I'm taking an exam right now. I have to come." And I, when that call comes in, you don't take it. You're not taking that call. But anyway, so how do I know it's unprofessional? Well, also it's the confidence level of the host. Because sometimes it's like, you're old enough to remember, maybe some listeners aren't, on Saturday Night Live, the Chris Farley show. You remember that skit, the Chris Farley show? And Chris Farley is more or less playing himself on this show. He interviews celebrities. You have no idea how the Chris Farley show is attracting these celebrities when he's such a bad host. But he's always second-guessing himself or not sure that he's asked a good question or he's always hesitant. That's a key tip-off. You got to go on there with super confidence. And remember that the people listening don't want you to fail. They want you to succeed.
Yeah.
That's a major thing to remember when you do public speaking. Nobody in the audience is saying, I hope this guy bombs. They want to be entertained. They want to learn something. They want you to shine up there. They want to be able to give you a hearty round of applause. So the same thing goes for your podcast. And also, I guess that involves listening, do as I say, not as I do, listening to your episodes again and seeing what your verbal tics may be that are annoying.
Okay.
Now, I have a lot of them, and I struggle with them. I really struggle. I don't know how to root them out, to be honest with you.
What are your verbal tics? I don't think I've mentioned.
No, I stumble all the time.
Okay.
I stutter and stumble all the time, and I am trying to work on it. But the thing is, the more I concentrate on not stumbling, the less brain power I have to say something profound. So in general, I've gone with, I'm going to stumble and be profound rather than be pedestrian and extremely well-spoken,
okay.
Diction-wise. But that's definitely it. Audio quality, and does the host come on to the show with some energy, not fake energy. I know a podcast host who's so fake. It's a fake persona that he thinks, well, now I'm in podcast mode. I have to be fake. I guess that's another one, that no matter how good your studio quality is or any of those sorts of things, if you don't sound like a real person to me, if you sound like I'm in podcast host mode, then that's just weird to me. I want to hear who you really are. And I'm trying to convey that in these episodes because I tell personal stories. I talk about my own life and I talk about struggles and frustrations and victories, but in a tone of voice that sounds natural for those things. And I hope people get, because also, even from a purely business standpoint, you want people to feel like they have a connection to you, that you're not just somebody who interviews people, but you're somebody they've kind of gotten to know and you think, hey, he's kind of an okay guy. That helps to have that connection with your audience.
Okay, that's very, very helpful. How do you handle troll? I'm going to misuse this word, but I mean this is the word people use: trolls, losers, and haters who try to interfere with your work.
Okay, answer is I make money off them.
No, the answer is you book them as guests, apparently.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I spend the day with them when I travel. Yeah. The best revenge you can get is to make a profit off people who hate you. It's not enough to just have a great comeback, although that's great too. But to have a great comeback and make money off people who hate you, that makes them hate you even more, and they just sputter and don't know what to do because then they realize the more they attack you, the bigger your bank account gets. I'll just tell you how that works. I'll just give you an example. Somebody there are a couple of sort of left-wing anarcho-capitalist Facebook groups where no normal person would be caught dead. And those people
Wait a
don't.
minute. Are you trying to tell me that normal people would be in the right-wing anarcho-capitalist groups?
Okay. All right. Well, I have my own definitions of words sometimes. Let's
Okay.
say. Well, there's one of them who just doesn't like me at all. I'm sure there's a whole bunch. Who cares? But there's one of them who doesn't like me and who will. I guess he posted something really nasty about me. So most of the time you ignore people like that because who are they? They haven't produced anything. You're just giving them attention. It's like Rudy Giuliani should have ignored Ron Paul, but he was too full of himself to think strategically.
Right.
But sometimes you make an example of them. If they're particularly dumb, you highlight it and you say, look, this is what this person said about me and frankly about you who listen. And I make emails out of them. And I smack these people and I say, look, I've got a group of people who are all on my side and on your side. And we have a great time together. And the way is this way. And it's my private Facebook group. It's like an inner circle. And yeah, you do have to pay 5 smackers a month at least to get in it. But that keeps the crazy people out. So I had a crazy person who hated me, who sent me an email. And I said, and she wanted to get in the group for free. I don't know, to berate me. I don't know. And I said, look, I charge $5 a month because the money keeps the crazies out of my group. You're living proof that the strategy works. Now, that's a sick burn, and I emailed that sick burn to my people, which led to more people subscribing. And so I said to her, and by the way, you're lining my pocket, so in the future, you might want to keep your mouth shut. Okay?
You said
That's revenge. That's how you do it. You win. You laugh at them, and you make money off them. That is how you should do it.
Wow, that is beautiful. Okay, I'm going to start my supporting listeners group then.
Yeah, and by the way, I know, I don't know. I don't know how you would feel about having a Facebook group, but I'll tell you this. When I started the supporting listeners group, which gives away, when you've been working as long as I have, you have a lot of things to give away to people. You have a lot of books and whatever else. You have a lot that you can give away as premiums for people who help you out and support you and who help fund it when I go promote a post and try and bring in more listeners. Well, one of the things I did was I started a secret Facebook group. It's beyond private. A secret group is one where even if you type in the name of the group, you can't find it on Facebook. You got to be invited in there. I mean, it's super exclusive. And I thought that would be sort of an afterthought. More than anything, and I am offering bonuses that are like gold, but none of them generated as much interest and membership as that private Facebook group. And if I hadn't tested it myself, I would never have known that would be such a draw. So that would be strongly considered as a benefit for supporting Michael Malice, I would say.
Okay. Wow. Okay, that's fine. I'll be glad to do it. That's very helpful and actionable advice.
That's what I'm here for.
That and sick burns.
Yeah, that's right. And I've gotten good at those. And partly when I write, I don't do that much writing anymore. The only people I write to are people on my email list. I don't really write articles. I want to write to people who want to hear from me so much that they're willing to be bothered by an email during the day. That's how much they want to hear from me. Those are the only people I'm interested in writing to anymore. So, I mean, eventually I'll write somewhere, but I'm not motivated to do that the way I'm motivated to write to people on my list. So tomsfreebooks.com is how to get on that list. But anyway, Michael, let me take a minute just to convey a message to the men in my audience. There are more than a few of those. Whether you like it or not, how you present yourself matters. And there's no point in going to the trouble of dressing up if you're going to be wearing something that doesn't fit. The sleeves are too long. It's too big. You could fit 2 people inside what you're wearing. That's why a made-to-measure suit is so much better than a generic off-the-rack suit. The problem is most people can't afford a made-to-measure suit, but now you can thanks to Indochino. I personally have had a great experience with Indochino. It's very, very easy to use. You just visit a showroom or shop online at Indochino.com. You pick your fabric, choose your customization, submit your measurements, and you just wait for your custom suit to arrive in just a few weeks. And this week, my listeners can get any premium Indochino suit for just $379 at Indochino.com when entering Woods at checkout. That's 50% off the regular price for a made-to-measure premium suit. Plus, shipping is free. That's Indochino.com, promo code WOODS, for any premium suit for just $379 and free shipping. That's an incredible deal for a suit that'll fit you better than anything off the rack ever could.
What is your strategy for interacting with the audience? Because at a certain point, if you have an audience that's too big, you can't really answer everybody. But at the same time, if someone is a loyal fan, you don't want to just completely ignore them.
It's true, which is kind of the benefit of the Facebook group.
Okay.
And so what I have my email assistant do is if somebody writes to me with a question, Every once in a while, I'll have time to answer the question, but generally, I just can't because I really want to spend time with the family. So what they'll say is there are two ways you can reach Tom and he'll help you out. One is through his private Facebook group, and the other one is through the libertyclassroom.com forums. And those are ways that you can reach him, but otherwise it's just too hard. And so in the private group, I do try to interact in the threads where possible. But my gosh, that private group has taken off so much. It runs itself. I could be gone for a year, and I guess they would notice I was gone, but the quality of the discussions would be just as high. Okay, that was loud.
But the thing is, since we warned them that there's going to be sounds from Brooklyn, I feel like that's
absolutely no problem.
A comedic button.
But so that's what I do. But then also, if I know there's somebody who's been with me for a long time and I see that person directly emails me, I'm not going to blow that person off. Right. But you got to understand there are only so many hours in the day and there are a lot of people out there. But yeah, I basically just try and in the Facebook group. And then in that group, a lot of times one of the reasons people want to write to me is to suggest you should have this guest on or that guest on. So I open up a whole thread and I say, all right, everybody, let's just get it all out. Who are the people who should be featured on the show and what topics should they discuss? What is a problem sometimes is somebody will say, Tom, why don't you have X guest on?
Right.
Now, sometimes it's because I haven't thought of it or I didn't know about that guest or it's. I actually had a guest where the audio was so bad I just could not have that guest on. And it's too bad because the person would have been good. But sometimes it's because I have my own reasons or there's stupid inside baseball drama associated with that person. And although I don't mind telling that person about it, I don't want there to be a paper trail, electronic paper that somebody could screenshot and then start a civil war over. I don't want to start another civil war with somebody.
Okay, that's very so. Where do you? I'm going to give you a Barbara Walters softball question. Okay.
Okay.
If you were a tree, where do you see the Tom Woods Show being different a year from now as it is today?
Well, I definitely want to do more debates, and I want to make them, I think I've made a mistake with the debates in the past. I've made them too structured because I was afraid that people would just be attacking each other the whole time and it would be unproductive. But I think I've underestimated the quality of guests that I've had on. These are all good people. They're not here to humiliate anybody. They genuinely want to get to the bottom of things. So I don't like the way I've just made it too, okay, now you talk. I really want to give them a lot more flexibility to talk to each other. And just have the conversation that my listeners and I would like to sit in on, that a conversation that never occurs otherwise. I'd like to have it occur on the show. So I want to do more of that. And I'd like to frankly generate more listener suggestions, I think. I mean, I've generated a lot, but ones that I think work for the show rather than me saying, well, I haven't had X guest on in a while. I think I'll have that guy. I do want it to be more listener supported in that way. I want to know, I want the show to reflect the fact that I have gone to my folks and asked them what they want and asked them, what do they like about it? What makes them every single day they tune into this? Every single day as part of their routine, they come to this show. What's making them do that? And what would keep making them do that? And especially I want to ask people who go out of their way to support me when they could get the show for free. Yeah. They support me anyway. Those are the people whose opinions I really treasure because these are the types of people. I don't just mean I value people with money, but 5 smackers a month is not the end of the world. But the point is these are people who are going to spread the word about the show. They're going to go above and beyond. They're going to tell their friends. They're going to retweet the episodes. They're going to put them on Facebook. Those are the people, because they're doing work that otherwise I'd have to do. And plus, they can reach people I wouldn't reach otherwise. Those are the ones I want to get to and say, what can I do to motivate you and make this thing better? I know it's as simple as that, but a lot of times people don't think. They're trying to think of all these strategies. What can I do to make things better? And the only strategy they don't consider is asking. Right. What would make it better? Now, part of it, I'll be honest with you, I'm afraid of what they're going to say. I'm afraid they're going to say, we want you to debate more people. But to be honest with you, no matter how much knowledge you have, if you're going up against somebody who only debates one topic 24 hours a day, you're going to lose. Yeah. And I don't have the time to be that prepared for that many sorts of topics. I just don't have the time. I am happy to bring other people. I'd like to bring Specialist A to debate Specialist B. That, I think, is much more helpful, and I think it generates more light. Anyway, that's what I think.
Well, I think that's very, very helpful advice.
That's what I'm shooting for here. And look, here we go. I'm asking Michael Malice, am I giving you valuable advice here?
Absolutely.
All right, good.
Extremely valuable advice. Because again, the problem is when you do a show, you're doing something that you like, but it's very hard to have the audience tell you, except by losing audience members, this is what we like and this is what we don't. So that is a very good mechanism you've developed to get actionable feedback that is with people who have a vested interest, because everyone's got an opinion. These are people whose opinions actually matter.
Now, there's also the question of, let's say that all you do for a living is produce content, which really is what you do. Your content is in the form of books, television appearances, podcast episodes, things like that. You produce content all day, and you get compensated in various ways. But is there a way to actually support yourself producing content? And I think of the example of John Lee Dumas I had back on the episode, like the 200s, and he has an entrepreneur show. I think it's just EO Fire now, but it was called Entrepreneur on Fire. And he had that show 7 days a week, 365 days a year. He was putting out an episode. And this guy earns 6 figures a month. 6 figures a month as a podcaster. So I'm inclined not to second guess him. In fact, I learned largely, I joined his podcasting group, and it was the best, one of the 2 best decisions I ever made. And so I did that. Anyway, well, this guy realized, he asked his people, what would you guys like? And a lot of them said, we'd like to learn how to start a podcast, actually.
Yeah.
So he created a product about how to start a podcast. He created a Facebook group and, mutual self-help group and all that. And that was really what made him start to earn, as much as he's earning. It was by asking. And so my point is, you can actually create things that people will buy, because they like what you do, they trust you, they like that head that you have on your shoulders, and you can make things that can be sold. So I made videos for the Ron Paul Homeschool program. Well, nobody is going to begrudge you charging for that, given that it took 2 years of my life. No normal person is going to begrudge you charging money for that, but you're providing an exceptionally valuable service that can't be gotten anywhere else, because there's no other homeschool program like that. And plus, there's no other Tom Woods. And here's the thing. Even if there is something else out there like what you're making, what your audience wants is the Michael Malice version of that. They know they could go get it from Mike Rowe or some random person, but they want the Michael Malice one. So even if you think, well, there's already an X or a Y, but there isn't a Michael Malice X or a Y. So for instance, if I created a program...
It is a dirty job.
Yeah. Oh, that was a good one. But if I created a program, for example, about how to start your own online business, you could go online and find all different ways of doing it. But there would be people who would want to get it. And I know this sounds arrogant, but I don't mean it that way. I'm just this is how it works. It's how branding works. There would be people who would say, "Oh, I want this one because I know that guy."
Right.
And so there are some podcasts and some products that never get created because people think, well, there's already an X or a Y. But eventually, as you build up an audience, people want your X. That's what they want.
Okay. I think that's great advice.
Whew. All right. I have more where we should charge for this episode. That'd be a product.
Yeah.
Charge for this episode. I can't believe I'm giving all this away for free, but that's the kind of guy I am. Now, in exchange, if you like this, you should hop on my email list, but that's another story.
Or else you get a smacker across the face.
That's right. And incidentally, I will say that for building up a loyal audience that loves what you're doing, supplementing it with building an email list has been really great. I mean, I know we joke about me emailing and my ebooks and stuff, but I wouldn't do it if it didn't work. And I have people, many thousands of people, who every single email I send out, they open it and read it. Huh. Those are my people there. That's amazing to me that people do that, because I don't open that many emails. There's a handful that I open every time I get them. But that's a way for me to say hello every day, basically, is to do that. And that, as I say, it generates buzz. It's something that's forwardable to friends. It's a way of spreading the word. Basically, what I'm saying is a certain amount of hours in the day to promoting your show. That could be 1 hour a day if that's all you want to do. But audiences don't build themselves. You do have to put in the elbow grease. So let's say you're going to say to yourself, for an hour a day, I'm going to pursue some of these avenues to promote my show. Well, fill that hour with one or more of these strategies. But best to just focus on one, get really good at it, and then when you're the king of that, focus on another one. But whatever you do, don't neglect promotion, because as I say, they don't They don't build themselves. But one thing you can do to help it sort of build itself is when I have a lot of people on as guests who are just getting started. So they don't have a big audience. But sometimes I have people on who have a gigantic audience. Very rarely, but I do have people that have, like Ron Paul, for example. And then I say to him, would you mind posting this episode on your Facebook page? Now, his Facebook has like 1.3 million followers. Now, we all know that the tiniest fraction of those will ever see that post. But I ask him as a favor, or I say, listen, I hope you enjoyed the interview as much as I did, and I think, maybe your audience would enjoy it too. Would you, please share it in your circles? Then you can leverage that person's audience to build up your own. And that should not be neglected. You should send a personalized email, which, again, I wish I were better at this, a personalized email the next day, the day that episode goes live, thanking that guest, saying it was great to have you. Here's the link. I'll be sharing it. I hope you will too. That makes all the difference, because maybe they wouldn't have bothered, but they get a personal email from you. What kind of a deadbeat isn't going to at least do something with that link? And you need every link out there that you can get.
Right. Okay. Thank you, Tom.
This was a paid product right here. I just showed you guys how to create a digital product. You take what you've got that people are interested in, and you just talk for a while. And there are people who will pay for this. Now, thankfully, since you're among my listeners, you don't have to pay anything. You just listen. All you got to pay with is your time. But I hope it's obvious to people how the things that I've shared with you can be adapted beyond podcasting and beyond libertarianism. They can be adapted to any business you're trying to promote online. All these strategies can be used. All right. Any parting words, Michael?
I'd like to thank your listeners for voting me the most popular guest. I'm
That's
serious.
right.
That's really flattering and nice and appreciated.
Obviously, we need to do a more recent, more current vote. But yeah,
no. That's not how it works.
It was so funny that Ron Paul came in second.
Who?
And then I remember you on one of the it was either in the Hamilton debate or on one of the episodes. You said Ron Paul second place, not too shabby. That was so perfect,
Second
so great.
comes right after first.
Well, listen, I want to first of all wish you the best of luck with the new arrangement over at Gas Digital, with your show over there, with your nightly program. This is all going to be great. I'll link to everything that's available at this moment will be linked at tomwoods.com/1167. And then as, if more links come in of stuff you're doing, I'll post them over on that page. But gasdigital.com is where you should go. You can listen to Michael over there. And if you want to subscribe, which gets you benefits, use the YWMM code for 20% off. Okay, what do you want to say?
Tom, the first guest is Stefan Kinsella, who's a good friend of both of ours, who is also affiliated with Mises. So will you share that interview in all your circles?
I will indeed share your interview when it comes out.
It's a trick.
Yeah, it works. It works. Well, tell me so today is the day that it comes out. We're recording this.
Today is live at 12:30. They air it live at 12:30, but then they release it for free 2 days later to non-subscribers.
Okay.
So you'll have that link to share.
All right, so when we say today, I will make sure for everybody listening, we're talking about May 29th, 2018 is today.
Right.
So you get to listen to Michael Malice. So there you go. All right. Well, best of luck, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Tom.
All right, before we fully wrap up for today, there's one thing I wanted to say, and I'm not sure. There was something I was trying to remember in that episode, and I couldn't remember what it was. And maybe it was this, that another thing about when you get attacked, if you get attacked by people everybody knows are your opponents. So that could be the mainstream media, that could be some left-wing activist, or for that matter, it could be some neocon, whatever. Anybody would be recognized as your opponent, and who is perceived as being an opponent also of those who follow you. Then again, that builds you up in a way, because then your following sees those attacks and says, wow, this guy is really out there in the public eye taking slings and arrows for me, for the things that I stand for. So when Ron Paul would be attacked by the media or anybody else, we didn't say, oh, those people must have good arguments against Ron Paul. We would say, wow, he's really put himself over the target for us. And that makes people, again, more loyal to you, more willing to go to bat for you, because they feel like you're somebody out there who's just going to go out there and spread the pure doctrine come what may. So it's not a bad thing when you get attacked. I'm just saying that because now this maybe not be as applicable in business, because in business you just don't want to be attacked, period. But in podcasting or in entertainment, there is a sense in which polarization can sometimes build your brand. Not like you want to deliberately go out and antagonize people, but you do want to make clear who you are. You want to make clear whose side you're on. And that will bring people to follow you. If you simply say, if people ask you, who's your podcast for? You say, it's for everybody. Nobody tunes in. I absolute guarantee. Nobody tunes in. You say, this podcast is for this political podcast is for everybody. No political podcast is really for everybody. So just be who you are. Say who you want to be. And by the way, that's why my publisher Regnery gave Meltdown, my book on the financial crisis, such a clunky subtitle. It's like paragraph long subtitle. And I objected vigorously. I said, this is a hideous subtitle. Shows what I knew in those days. They said, but what this subtitle is doing is it's identifying your audience. It is saying, if you believe in the free market, this is the book on the financial crisis for you. Now, I was a naive kid and I thought, everybody needs to read this book, not just the free market people. And they said, but it doesn't work that way. Especially because you're not a household name such that people would just automatically buy your book. What you need to do is pinpoint that audience. You can do it your way and not sell any copies, or you can do it our way and we'll get it into the hands of a lot of people. And that's exactly what happened. So anyway, I find all this stuff interesting. I hope you do too. And I hope you enjoyed this sort of meta episode. But we're back to traditional libertarianism in these episodes starting tomorrow. I'll see you then.
Become a smarter libertarian in just 30 minutes a day. Visit TomWoods.com to subscribe to the show for free, and we'll see you next time.